1. Find the force of gravity between the Earth and the Sun if the mass of the Earth is 5.98 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. Mass of the Sun is 1.99 times 10 to the 30th kilograms, and the distance between the two, 1.496 times 10 to the 11th. So first things first, let's write down the knowns and unknowns. So find the force of gravity, so that's Fg. Mass of the Earth, so I'll call this ME, equals 5.98 times 10 to the 24th. Mass of the Sun, so I'll call that MS, 1.99 times 10 to the 30th. Distance between the two, so D, 1.496 times 10 to the 11th. So, it's a gravity problem. We're trying to figure out how gravity works. Last time when we did the notes, we saw that the equation for solving for gravity, as far as just how strong is it, is this equation here. So we're just going to plug those numbers in here. So Fg equals big G m1 m2 over d squared. So when we plug the numbers in, big G is a given constant. It's this number here, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th. M1 is just one of the masses. It doesn't matter which it is. Let's use mass of the Earth. 5.98 times 10 to the 24th. Divided by mass 2, which is my second mass. That's the mass of the Sun. Or sorry, times mass 2. My bad. 1.99 times 10 to the 30. Divided by the distance between them. Squared, 1.496. Okay, when you are solving, do it one thing at a time, because these numbers look nasty, and they are. Okay? The math is not difficult. You're going to multiply the top, you're going to square the bottom. You're going to divide the numbers out, and then that number you'll multiply by G. So the math itself is not difficult, but the numbers are nasty, and that makes it challenging. So do one thing at a time. Don't try to rush through it, because you're more likely to make a mistake that way. So I'm just going to start by multiplying the two top numbers together. And I'm going to show you how to put these in your calculator. And then I'm going to come around and make sure you can get the same number as me. So I'm just multiplying the top two. So, the way I put this in the calculator is I need to do it as scientific notation. So you have to make sure you know how your calculator does scientific notation. If you don't know how, I'll come show you. But on a TI calculator, it's usually going to be this EE button, which is usually a second function, and it's usually above the 7. Not always, but usually. So I'm going to put the number in, 5.98. Don't do this. Don't do times 10 power. Don't do that. Okay? Instead, use your scientific notation button, which is this EE. Hit the second EE, or just EE, whatever it is. That does scientific notation for you. That does the times 10. Now all I need to do is put in the power. The power of the Earth is 24. I'm multiplying that by the mass of the Sun, so I'm multiplying by 1.99, second EE, 30. When I do that, I get an answer of 1.19 times 10 to the 55th. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. 1.19 times 10 to the 55th power. And you can see what I mean by these things get real nasty real fast. All right, if you don't have a TI, if you've got a Casio, you're looking for a button that either says EXP or says times 10x. Okay? That's usually in the middle on the bottom row. It's sometimes on the side. Okay? It's sometimes on the side. It just depends on what calculator you have. Let me see if I got any other ones. Yep. Or it'll look like this. It'll be a times 10x, again, on the bottom row usually. Okay? I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put the exact same numbers in, but I'm going to use that button instead. So 5.98, EXP is your times 10, 24 is the power, times 1.99, EXP, the power is 30, hit equals, there's the same number, 1.19 times 10 to the 55th. If you don't have a TI or a Casio and you got something else and you can't figure it out, let me know. But right now, I want you to try to get that first number there. I want you to try to make sure that when you multiply them, you get 1.19. If you're not getting that, if you're not getting 1.19 to the 55th, let me know when I come around so that I can check and make sure you're in good shape. If you're doing okay on it, go ahead and jump to the back page, do number 2, and start working on the setup. Okay? So make sure you can put that in your calculator. If you can't, stop me, because basically all these problems are, can you put it in the calculator? The setup is not difficult. The calculator is. So if you can put it in your calculator, you're in pretty good shape to get a good score on them and to get them right. So make sure that you're being careful then. And I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to see problems like this on the final. Okay? That we haven't done a test on this. We're doing this unit quick. You're going to see a question like this on the final. You're going to see a question like this, question like this on the final. Okay? So let me come around and see how y'all are doing. Let me make sure you can get it put into your calculator. Okay, so the next step is to figure out the bottom. So we're going to do it the same way we just did, but we have to be careful about squaring. Now, if you have a fancy calculator, you can store the answer so you don't have to type it in again. I'm going to do that. If you would like to find out how to do that, I can show you how, depending on what your calculator is. But you're fine to just write the number down and round it. There's nothing wrong with that. So let's put in this bottom number. So 1.496. There's the second EE, so there's my power button. I'm putting in 11. Now, this number is squared. All you have to do, find the square button on your calculator, put squared at the end, hit equals, and there's the number. So the bottom, the denominator, 2.24 times 10 to the 22nd. I am going to go ahead and round a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it up here. So, FG equals big G. And I had some questions on where this number came from. Big G is down here. I realize now I might have given you the wrong number in the notes. So if I did, that's my apologies. I think I got it confused with a physics 2 constant, which is very similar. This is the correct number for G, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th. Okay, so that's what big G is, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th. The numerator is 1.19 times 10 to the 55th. And the denominator is 2.24 times 10 to the 22nd. So the next thing I'm ready for is to divide the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and type them in the way you are. I'm not going to use my stored numbers. I'm just going to type them in so you can see the way I'm doing it. So 1.19 to the 55th divided by 2.24 to the 22nd. When I divide that, it gives me 5.31 to the 32nd. Yeah. Uh, 5.32 times 10 to the 32nd. So it should be pretty close. Again, if you're having trouble, I'm going to come around again here in a little bit and help you out. Rewrite it one more time. Now, it is possible to do all these steps at once, but be careful. It's really easy to make mistakes. So be very, very careful if that's what you're doing. And here's my new number, 5.31 times 10 to the 32nd. Okay? Last thing, multiply those two numbers together. That's the number. It's really hard to see down here because it's a little close together, but there isn't. There is a negative sign in front of the 11. It's kind of hard to see. I forgot to put a space between it. Okay? All right, last two, multiply those together. So I'm going to multiply this number by 6.67 to the negative 11th. Final answer, 3.55 times 10 to the 22nd. And it's a force, so it's newtons. And yes, that number is really big. It's supposed to be big. We're talking about the force between the Earth and the Sun. It has to be big because the Earth is big.